woke ideologues.
Exactly. So there's a way where you can do a search and find all the lists that you're on,
you also have
and
to
then you can
realize that
unsubscribe yourself from those lists by leaving the group or blocking whoever the admin of the group is, and then unblocking them and then automatically leave the group. So I guess that's I did that once. I don't know if it really helped.
It's now run by
but also words you use, if you use certain incorrect words like
we're all doing this
trans or things like that.
Left wing.
That probably also.
I wouldn't say we're doing it for free necessarily.
I feel like that shouldn't on X since Elon's been in charge.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, maybe the old X algorithms, but Musk doesn't. He's no fan of the trans movement.
Yeah, but it's not.
There's a lot of stuff that hasn't been updated. There's old, like my old shadow ban from when Jack Dorsey was still running the thing is in place.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that they just never changed.
Well, I can confirm that too because my old account, now it's the same thing on both accounts. But my old account was totally shadow banned because I used to have like triple the followers on my old account when I got it back than I did on this new account. But I'd post on the old account, just buried. But I'd post on this account and it'd do good, it'd do well. So I just gave that account up. I use it for a separate account now, just for uploading clips and other things. But but now I'm it's the same effect on both accounts.
Well, like you said, it's not just him and his personal views. He has a CEO, and she needed to do what she needed to do to get the advertisers back. So it is a business. So I personally, just try to use different words or try to spell it differently.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Frankly, the only solution to all of this is public utility law. If enough Trump supporters push Trump to use public utility law to declare sites like Twitter a public utility, just like the phone company can't shut off your phone number because they don't like what you're saying on a phone call. Even though this is privately owned, Twitter is a public utility. And the trouble is a strong alliance at this point. But if enough Trump supporters, just like we shut down the H-1B debate in our favor, if enough Trump supporters pushed for the use of public utility law and said, hey, Twitter has to be regulated like a public utility, they can't have all these shadow bans, they can't shut people down because they don't like what they're saying, like they did to Laura Loomer, like they've done to you and me, Owen. If we pushed for the Trump administration to use public utility law this way, that's the real solution.
Yeah, I do think that is a good solution. And, there's certainly room for debate as far as is that the right thing to do, but it is the best solution that I've heard yet. In fact, we've got somebody joining us now, might be the perfect person to talk about this, and this is Jason Fick. He's the founder of Social Media Freedom Foundation 501c3. So, Jason, I open the floor to you. You've also been involved in lawsuits, so Fick versus Facebook, so go ahead.
Thanks for having me up, Owen. It's been a while since we talked. I want to dispel a whole bunch of things so that we can actually resolve some of the issues that we're talking about here. So just to give you a little bit of background, not only did I sue Facebook, I've been involved in that lawsuit for 7 years now. We are about 3 months out from going to the Supreme Court for the third time. This time I'm backing allies, like big ones, like as big as they get. So, because what has happened over the past 7 years is
fucking black
the
guys.
application of Section 230.
Careful, man, when you walking on ice, dog.
We had to move a mountain of bad precedent. California courts weren't helping us with this, but my case influenced multiple other cases, which have now aligned with our understanding of the way Section 230 is supposed to be applied. Now, what I mean by that is that there's nothing wrong with the law. The law wasn't applied correctly, and it's blatant, and it's consistent. But the thing is, we're going back to the Supreme Court with 3 outer circuit splits. We have 4 intra-circuit splits. We have 12 different cases that define my case. So we basically have a complete mess of law because it's not being applied right now. My pin post, for those that want to understand because everybody asks me, so what happens? What happens if I can get the Supreme Court to actually take the case, to do the right thing, fix the law? Well, I asked ChatGPT and it laid it out for you. It basically fixes everything. Now, the big problem, the big fix here, what you're talking about is like algorithmic manipulation, like manipulation of what's recommended or what's restricted or all of those things. That's going to change. they actually are liable for that because that's their own conduct. They haven't been in the past, but that's what's changing. Once that happens,
let me interject something so people can get a better idea, because this is the key part right here. Let's say the electricity company or the gas company, whatever, they cannot throttle my access to electricity. They cannot throttle my access to heat. There is legal precedent there, right? I mean, are these the type of cases you're looking at and then saying you can't cook the system so house 1 doesn't get the same amount of electricity as house 2?
No, that's actually not what we're saying. They are not public utilities, and I think it's a futile argument. And just so you know, I'm also an expert consultant on the Bollinger case, which is the disinformation dozen versus the censorship industrial complex, as well as Brighteon. I think you might have seen me on with Mike Adams and Alex. But basically, it works like this: private entities or public entities do not have the right to restrain our individual civil liberties, right? The life, liberty, or property, without some guidance, like what's called an affirmative defense. It's like self-defense. If you commit an otherwise unlawful act, you are protected by an affirmative defense, which would be self-defense. In this case of Section 230, they have to be good Samaritans. It's right in the law. It's in quotes, right? And the reason for that is that their first order of business is that they're supposed to be working for the benefit of the public. They're not. They violate their legal
Health minister is
they
these European
violate their own
fatsos.
and nobody ever holds
I
them
mean,
accountable.
I've been eating. I didn't work out today either. I'm
So,
not no
We're not
minister.
after them as a public utility. We're saying that a private entity, it doesn't matter that they're a state actor, none of that stuff matters. The reality is that they have to be held accountable under a congressional intent, which is good Samaritan. They haven't been done. That literally has not been done the entire duration of the law. Out of, I think, like 500 cases, maybe 17 have ever applied to good faith. So everybody is looking in the wrong place because they've got you chasing red herrings, when it's legitimately all we're asking the Supreme Court to do is strictly apply the law as written, and it all sorts itself out. It's that simple. Like we've done the job, but it took 6 years for all of the other courts to catch up to us to basically force the California courts into a corner to do what they wouldn't do for me. I've been fighting a losing battle, but everybody else has finally caught up. So I just don't want you chasing down the public utility, because they're really not. It's a very different scenario. And as far as also, I also want to discuss one other thing. Everybody calls them state actors. The actual definition is they're state instruments, right? So like in an FTCA claim, you can go after the government for its employees, agents, or instruments. So they're just the instrument of censorship. And that's all they have to be, is they have to be jointly participating or pervasively entwined. So there's a lot more to the legal side. It's already shifted. Like Facebook's reactions, why do you think Facebook changed first? Because Facebook's directly involved with us. They know what we're fighting. They know what's inevitable. It's coming. Like the entire internet's about to change, and nobody's talking about it because nobody understands. So that might give you a little more insight to what's happening.
Well, and I don't know if this ties into your cases. I doubt it, but it's all kind of in the same. It's all kind of on the same spectrum here. Google got hit with the monopoly decision.
Yep.
And they got a breakup. So that was a big one that didn't get much press. I think Zuckerberg has more. Maybe Zuckerberg had a philosophy change, but it's probably more likely he's cozying up with Trump and his supporters to maybe win some favor should there be some court decisions that are
keep in
not.
mind, Owen, Facebook, Zuckerberg said that antitrust is an existential threat to big tech because they've been violating legal duties for so damn long. If the courts fix it, like, they're done. They're going to get sued. Like, everybody's already approaching us about other suits because the law's already changing. They're in deep trouble. And I bet what's scary is that whole cozying up the Trump thing is like, are they trying to circumvent the problem still? Like, because they lost Biden now, obviously the top.
Yeah, they're giving those $1 million checks to Trump so that he will not regulate them using antitrust law. 100%. I disagree with you about public utility law. Even hearing everything you've said, with public pressure, the Supreme Court can be made to make that their decision and their ruling on it. I understand what you're saying about the legal precedent, the way the courts are currently ruling on it. It can go the other way, but 100% they're giving that money, those $1 million checks, to prevent the Trump administration from reaming them with antitrust law.
Yeah, and I don't want to dispel that it can't be done, but Congress would need to do it, and Congress is constipated. They can't get anything done. That's the only problem. I'm working within the confines of what we have currently, and the easiest, simplest fix is for the Supreme Court to simply accept our case. There's two questions, literally, and we gave them the answers. Answer these two questions with what we said. It's over. Big tech, it unifies all the law, and all of a sudden, big tech becomes accountable. It will truly be amazing.
How do you think that impacts what's happening on X?
Well, all of the content moderation. That's what I said. If you get a chance, read my pinned post. It's screenshots of what ChatGPT, ChatGPT has caught up to it, has recognized that all of the evolving law has proven what we have been fighting for 6 years. I asked it basically, what would the result be for the world? And because it's hard to articulate, it's like, how do you explain how this is going to change? But the reality is that the content manipulation.
He's live, Abby. He's back on Clown House.
This is better. This is worse.
Andrew Meyer.
To do that. That's
Well, he's on X, but technically he's back on Clown House because of this room.
Which is what the courts thought. It's for their own conduct.
Message him on X and say, bro, are you live on Clown House right now? Edmund Dakin's live streaming you onto Clown House.
It doesn't make it illegal. What makes it illegal is, for example, Zuckerberg said in front of Congress under oath that Facebook is a platform for all ideas. Well, that's a lie, right? So they represented that they're a platform for all ideas, and then they violated.
Also, Abby messaged me. She said,
because they lied. And see, that's what the courts, especially. There's a case called AB versus Salesforce that literally just concluded in the Fifth Circuit on December 19th. It's that new. That went into the textual analysis that we tried to get done 6 years ago, and they figured it out.
oh, hi, Danny.
The case is about their legal duties.
What were you saying before I left?
Oh, that Hillary said she deleted her shit. She said Clown House is not for her.
Specifically good faith restrictions. And the judge doesn't decide that.
Hillary said Clubhouse is not for her.
Case. Meaning cases will actually go to court now.
She already made a
And that's
house.
a huge change.
This woman has been on Clubhouse.
And you're anticipating
Yeah,
you're
I
going to be
agree.
arguing in front of the Supreme Court this year?
If they accept the
She should
case.
come
But,
back.
it's not easy to get in front of the Supreme Court. But I can say, and I can't say who, but I have legitimate allies coming in this with me that are a lot bigger than me. My problem is I'm too obscure.
He's on
So
X.
I just keep getting pushed under the rug.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Whereas
that. It doesn't have
The people that are now have figured this out, agree with me,
like the
and
purple
bringing
thing
all of
where
the
you
lawyers to
talk
bear, and
Yeah, he's on.
we're going to
He's
be getting
there. You
amicus
want to see
from all
the
sorts of
picture?
different directions coming in the Supreme this
Yeah,
time,
see the
and that's in the
link.
next 3 months.
Oh.
Could you link us?
Well, this is all overdue. I believe the Missouri Attorney General has a case
Will you make a time
on
machine for
censorship
me?
that just got to the Supreme Court, or is going to the Supreme Court, right? Do you know about that one?
I believe
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
it.
RFKs that's consolidated with Missouri versus
No.
Biden, and I
Did
don't
you guys
suspect
click
that they're
on
actually
it?
going to be able to surpass it because most people don't recognize why they got kicked back on standing. And one of the biggest problems with the case is that they sued Biden in isolation, right? Well, there's a redressability issue there. What good is it to even restrain Biden at this point because he's gone? So there's just an inherent problem. Plus, the court said, and I quote, it said, we need to see where one platform was coerced by one government and restrained one plaintiff. They were making it
What about
stupid
Congress?
simple that big tech needed to be involved in the case and they weren't sued. We didn't do that. We're suing everybody, from the state all the way down to big tech. Well, we're suing X right now.
What about Congress and Mark Zuckerberg lying under oath? What about that?
That unfortunately is not something really that because there's no independent harms that come from that to the individuals that in the world. But I will say that it works as evidentiary in our case because, of course, that becomes legal duties. I mean, they make public representations. They've got to stick to them.
Oh, well, so when Zuckerberg admitted that they were censoring at behest of the government, I mean, you don't have to say anything that, obviously don't show your hand here, but I'm assuming you like that.
Well, believe it or not, I mean, this is the funny part. We're so cutting edge on the social media law stuff. We didn't even need it. He's admitting it because it's already been done. Judge Doty in Missouri versus Biden has already concluded that as it relates to the Biden administration and the CCDH and Facebook and everybody else like that, they've already been determined by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that they were in fact censoring on behalf of the government. So we don't even have to prove that. So in the Bollinger's case, which our actual disinformation doesn't, right? That's all on socialmediafreedom.org. It's currently 317 pages. It is a monster complaint.
Danny, you're wasting your fucking breath. I got the volume turned down. I can't even hear you.
That's ever going after the Smith Modernization Act. We're going after the elements of the NDAA, the formation of the GEC. I mean, we went all the way back, tore it all apart. And the reason being is one of the revelations that, I mean, nobody's really talking about this. I put it out on Laura's show. Essentially they told everybody in the world that the CCDH came out with that disinformation doesn't report, and then the government sort of reacted to it. Well, how did it react with a congressional hearing the next day? That's pre-planned. Well, it turns out if you actually go into the evidence and go all the way back, that was actually a partnership between the Department of State and the United Kingdom. They worked with Facebook, CCDH, and Attorneys General and the White House and Congress before it even became public, meaning they didn't coerce them. They literally conspired with them. So the whole perception of how this is going down, no, Facebook